Welcome to Romance Happy Hour. I'm Dylann Crush, and I'm here tonight without Dawn. She had another obligation this evening, but we have, for me, she's down below me. We have Kameron Claire, who is stepping in to fill Dawn's gargantuan shoes, although actually she wears, I think, pretty small shoes because she's, petite and dainty. But yeah, she has big shoes to fill tonight, but I know Kameron can do it. So welcome, Kameron. Thanks for stepping in and helping us out tonight.
Yeah, thanks for asking me. Every time you ask, I'm always like, yep, I'll do it. I don't know why. I don't like being on live, but for some reason I'm always like, yep, I'll do it.
Well, it's always fun to see your face, and I haven't seen your face much lately, so I'm glad you're able to come tonight.
Yes, thanks. I'm glad to be here. Yep. And you're up in the cabin.
I am. I know. I have really bad camera quality tonight because I am up at the cabin. I just got back from the beach, from the ocean. I stepped out of Florida just as, right as Helene was gathering momentum. I had a little scare because a couple of years ago when I was at this same conference, I did get stuck in a hurricane, and I can't remember, was that Ian? I don't remember now, but yeah, it was the first time I'd ever been kind of stuck in a Florida hurricane, and that's not something I want to repeat. So yeah. So for everybody who is in Helene's path, we hope that you stay safe and all that. But yeah, so now I just have a very calm lake outside the window instead of torrential rain and winds and waves. But
yeah,
happy to be home.
Yeah, I bet.
And tonight we are joined by Jess Christine and C.A. Szarek. Did I say your last name?
No, you got it. It's Szarek. Not
Szarek. I meant to ask you before we went live because it's like I know that I'm going to butcher that every single time. So
everyone does. I mean,
well, when you have an S and a Z next to each other, the odds of getting it right are
panic.
So welcome. We're glad that you both have joined us this evening and can't wait to hear what you've got for us tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. But first, I wanted to check in with you, Kameron, because it's been a while since you've been on the show. What have you been working on lately? And what do you have? Have you released anything new since we last talked to you? Or give us a quick update.
Yes. I don't know when I can't remember. It's got to have been at least a year. I think the last time we talked was our last anthology, right?
So it might have been
October of last year.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I got all kinds of stuff going on, but mostly I'm kind of knee deep in my paranormal world. So I have 2 books I have book 0 that I'm calling book 0 out, which was in a multi-author collaboration that was called Writing with the Kodiak, and it was a shifter MC. But when I wrote it, I kind of went left from all the other authors. Our only requirement is that they were in the MC and they were shifters, right? So I kind of went left apparently, and then when I went back to them and said, "Hey, my shifters need to kill a bunch of people. Are your characters good with that?" They were like, "Oh no, our characters aren't really that kind of shifter." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So then I had to create an entire world, and so now book 1 in that world is out, and book 1 in a parallel world that won't have killing people in it is I'm working on. So I've been enjoying killing people apparently so much that I'm actually struggling with the current book because I'm like, I'm not killing anybody in this one. I don't really know what to do with them now.
Characters, Kameron. Can we just clarify your
yes, please.
Characters?
You put yourself on a list. You just put yourself on a list.
I'm sure I'm already on the list.
We don't need the episode flagged.
Yeah. I'm sure we're all already on lists anyways.
Probably.
Yeah. But
Probably.
Yeah. So
quite possibly.
Yeah. So that one's coming out November 8th. The next book is coming out November 8th.
Awesome.
Great. And what kind of shifters are they? Bear?
No, I have bear, wolf, and cougar right now.
Ooh.
So I have
all right.
Those 3.
Excellent.
Yeah. What about you? What are you working on?
What am I working on? That's a great question. I am working on still the next book in my Whiskey War series. It'll be book 4, and then I've also got a couple of Eve releases that are coming up. So I have 2 that are coming out in November that are keeping me pretty busy.
That's cool. 2 releases in November.
Yes, they're shorts. They are shorts. So, but yeah, so I've got those 2 coming up too. And I just saw we had a cameo from I don't know. It looked like a big dog shifter. I don't know.
He's wondering what I'm doing because evening time is usually his. His name is Milo.
Is he a Newfoundland or?
No, he's a Great Pyrenees. He's 9 months old. He's tough cookie. I'm hoping to keep him off of my lap while I'm reading because he does. Here he comes. See,
we love seeing pets. On Romance Happy Hour. So my dog is actually in the chair behind me, but he won't make his presence known.
So CA, how much land do you have for that dog? Because
he's a house dog. He's not a working dog. But we have a pretty nice sized yard, but he's most of the time he's inside. So I got him in May and he was 15 months old at the time, and he's a rescue. Look that way, Goofy. And so he was a 100% outdoor dog. I'm not going to say that they abused him, but they definitely neglected him. He was a backyard dog in the city that I live in. So he's not a big fan of the outside. Because he was outside all the time, no matter the weather. So and I live in Texas, so it's over 100 in the summer. You need to get down. And he weighs 103 pounds, by the way. So yeah, he's a big old house dog. He's a couch potato, really. It's usually pretty good.
So I just tangent real quick. We used to have a Great Pyrenees, and I called him. His nickname was Yertle the Turtle because he was king of his domain. And so that boy, if he could get out, he would book it.
Yeah, they call him.
I mean, that's part of the Pyrenees breed, and so like he would run. And I said it was because he had to, like, if he touched it, it was his domain.
They call them disappears.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Yeah.
He's only gotten out one time, and he went out the front door. He's being an opportunist while we were bringing groceries in. He made it all the way over like a block and a half, and then we got him. But I mean, he's still, sometimes he's a toddler, sometimes he's a teenager because he's 19 months old. So he's not quite fully grown yet. So I call him a Tyrannosaurus Rex. So but he's a good boy. He's very, very sweet, and he's completely a mama's boy. But my husband left this morning to go to Pennsylvania for 2.5 weeks, and I think he's feeling that a little bit, even though my husband is spare human. But I think he's a little, something's not right here. Daddy's not home this evening, and it's weird because he was being super extra when I got off work. And I'm like, you need to calm down. I have a thing tonight. You need to calm down. But his personality, he's really sweet. I've never had a Great Pyrenees, but I didn't know what I was getting into. I bit off more than I could chew. I don't regret it. I adore him. I'm super attached to him, but he's a lot. He dogs different than any other dog I ever had. So
he's adorable.
Thank you. He is adorable.
And now we know
the cover of a calendar. I just got news tonight. Like he's literally a supermodel.
Wow.
So
he needs his own Instagram account.
I probably should do that because if you look at my phone, there's 12,000 pictures of a big
if he's going to be super, super top dog model quality.
Yeah. If you look at my Facebook, I posted about it. He actually made the cover of a calendar, and he's going to be on November. So he's on the actual cover. There's a link on my Facebook. Anybody that would like to pre-order it, because my dog's in it. So.
Well, you've told us all about Milo now. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm one of those writers that can't really pick a lane and stick to it. I do write different genres. They're all under the romance umbrella. I write romantic suspense, high fantasy romance, and Scottish Highlander time travels / historical, because there's some historical romance in there too. I have 21 books out. I can't believe that. I've been writing since 2000. Well, I've been writing forever, but I've been published since 2013. And today I wanted to share a project of my heart. So my very first book, Swords Call, which is the first book in a series, it's high fantasy romance. I am turning it into an illustrated version with 24 full page color illustrations that go along with the story. So I'm super, super excited about it. I even could, since we're on camera, I might be able to show you guys one of them or two of them. There you go. So, but it's kind of the project of my heart. and I'm really, really excited to have it in hand. I don't have paperbacks yet. I'm going to order them very soon. Or I'm sorry, it's going to be hardback, but it'll be a nice big book. And then what I'm currently working on, I'm actually working in this series. I usually jump around, and I'm actually working on book 4 of this particular series. And it's exciting because it has a dragon in it. It's got a dragon. I finally got to the dragons. So
Dragons make everything better.
Yeah,
they do.
Yeah.
They do. I agree with that statement. I have a dragon problem, but it's not really a problem. I don't know if you guys can see my shelf here. This is all dragons.
Oh, wow.
They're everywhere. They're everywhere.
Well, we're excited to hear from you tonight and hear a little bit more about your project that you've got going on.
Absolutely.
And Jess, you are brand new to Romance Happy Hour. You
brand new. Yep.
brand new author. So we're very excited that you are coming on the show and telling us a little bit about your book. And yeah, we always love to see debut authors. So welcome to Romance Landia.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Yeah.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started and
so I'm actually a speech therapist, and I love to read romance and couldn't find a contemporary romance that featured a speech therapist, so I decided to write it. So I started Speechless last year, and I published it in June. And then currently I'm working on the second book in the series, which will come out at the beginning of next year in January, hopefully.
Great.
So, yep, it's all of them are going to feature different types of therapists. So like When You Left Me Speechless, the female main character is a speech therapy student. And then the second book features an occupational therapist. So something that's close to my heart, like the rehab world. And so it's fun to kind of get to weave that into a genre that I really enjoy to read.
Well, and also to just, let people know a little bit of background information on what all goes into that. And I have had my couple of my kids have done different kinds of therapy, and it's amazing. I think therapists are like teachers, you're very much necessary and very underappreciated.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, and you can count on it being accurate, right? You can count on it being accurate.
Yes. So, so I definitely wrote what I knew for the first book. And then since the second book, the main female character is occupational therapist, I have like 3 of my best friends are occupational therapists. So I've been handing like every chapter to them. I'm like, read this and tell me what you think. So definitely it's nice to have those connections and to
absolutely
be able to represent the different professions.
Well, and you'll be able to teach people while you're entertaining them, which is nice.
Yeah, because maybe people don't know what an occupational therapist does.
Yeah.
It's not as obvious as speech therapist.
Right.
But no, but that's really cool though. I like that.
And then hopefully I can weave in some just like jokes and things that OTs will find funny. Like nobody knows what they do, or that kind of thing.
Drop,
Well, little breadcrumbs and things like that.
Yeah, those are fun but I have a hard time doing that on purpose. Like being funny on purpose is really hard for me. But yeah, those are always fun when you drop those little cookies that only like secrets that people know.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're going to get to it. Chrissy has graciously volunteered to go first.
Sort of under duress.
You were, what do they say? Voluntold to go first.
We definitely use that word in Texas. I don't know where all you guys live, but yeah, we say voluntold.
Yeah,
for sure.
So is there a setup? I think you mentioned you're going to read from chapter 1, page 1.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to go with it. It's basically a girl saves a boy in a bar. I'll give you that. Spoiler alert. So, because I always write really strong heroines. But yeah, this is chapter 1. So anybody who walked into it would start here too. Hopefully you wouldn't just pick it up and open it in the middle. But this book is called Sword's Call. It is the first book in the King's Rider series. And again, this book did come out quite some time ago. It is my first book, but I'm making it an illustrated version. So I'm just going to dive in, and then you can tell me when to shut up. Okay, deal?
Sounds good. We'll keep an eye on the clock. We will
right.
leave you to it, and we'll see you after.
All right. Chapter 1. Heart pounding and fists clenched, Sierra sat in the dragon's lair's darkest corner. By choice, the candle on the table was unlit, the bowl of stew half-eaten, food the last thing on her mind. The door to the tavern swung open. Her white wolf growled low and deep beside her. Sierra glanced up, squinting at the sudden flood of sunlight. As the thick panel slammed shut, her eyes adjusted to the renewed murkiness. She took in the newest arrival. Then she focused on Trixer. She couldn't have him going for anyone's throat. Shh, Trick, it's all right. She ran a hand through his fur, smoothing his hackles along the length of her spine. The big wolf looked up and licked her hand. One corner of her mouth lifted, and she bit back a sigh. The only reason the owner even let him in was because no one else was allowed to enter the dragon's lair if she was inside without him. No one, according to Trixer, that was. He'd almost taken off the last guy's hand who'd tried. What do y'all have? Marshek barked, revealing his instant dislike of the newcomer. She locked eyes on the bartender. Then she took a closer look at the man sitting in front of him. His pointed ears betrayed his heritage, but his height suggested he was not of pure blood. Marshek was known to be tolerant of elves, but he hated half-breeds. Sierra could imagine what the grumpy, middle-aged tavern owner was thinking, and it wasn't friendly. She stood, Trixer immediately rising, awaiting her move. The white wolf was her bond mate and had been since he was very young. Relax, she thought sent. Trick sat, but his body was tense, tight. He didn't otherwise respond to her mental order. She moved to the bar, her wolf following. He moved in a slight crawl, slinking closely to the floor. His belly was probably touching the filthy floor wood planks. Sierra made a face, but forced a breath. Detach control. Show them you don't care about anything. She was just in time to hear the half-elfin man's order when she slid onto the stool next to him. His voice was clear and deep. Marshek filled the mug with ale and started to put the jug in its place on the shelf. Wait, Mar, she said with a wave of her hand. I'll have some of that too. With a curt nod, the older man poured her some too. She brought it to her lips, glancing at the stranger. His coal-black hair brushed the collar of his hooded gray cape, giving him a rather unkempt look, but rugged rather than messy. Sierra couldn't see the hue of his eyes from her seat, but his high cheekbones made his profile appealing, his sleek, tapered ears adding to the attraction. His powerful jawline was clean-shaven, an oddity in these parts. He was young, likely not much older than her, and had the stunning beauty of the elves. She could tell he was aware of her perusal. His chest heaved, and he finally looked her way. Blue. His eyes were a deep sapphire blue. Her heart missed a beat, but she ignored it. The man said nothing, not that she'd expected him to. She set her stein down and swallowed against the liquor burning its way along her throat to her belly. Warmth exploded and her tongue got heavy. Sierra bit back a grimace. How could anyone drink this stuff? Rotten, dirty half-breeds, Marshek mumbled under his breath, shoving a wet rag along the top of the weathered bar, but he wasn't carefully cleaning it. The half-elf slammed his mug down, his brows tight and his jaw clenched. Some of the other rustics in the bar shared the bartender's sentiment, and before she could blink, a man named Herrick had seized the stranger by the shoulders. The half-elf cursed and tried unsuccessfully to slip out of the bigger man's grip, his hand missing the grab for the hilt of his sword. For blessed spirit's sake, she muttered, scrambling to her feet. She drew the dagger from her belt patch, but kept it hidden under her cloak. There was going to be trouble. She loathed trouble. The problem was, lately, it seemed to follow her. Sierra shouldn't get involved, should let the man handle the situation on his own, but somehow she couldn't hold her tongue. She'd do what she could, no matter how little that might be. She was familiar with the rough men in the tavern. They all lived locally in the slums in lower Greenwald. The mixed-blooded man's life would truly be in peril if she didn't step in. Herrick pulled him off the stool and held him from behind. Another man readied himself to inflict violence. He struggled against the hold, but they pulled his arms behind his back, pinning him. Helpless. Damn it. Come on, Gordo, this little one's not worth it, she said to the tall but portly, dirty blonde man, the ringleader of the rustics. Dirty was more than just the color of his hair. She was grateful that Trixer's way of slinking to the bar raised little notice. They still didn't seem to notice him, even though she could sense him bristling at her side. Sierra sent him a mental command to wait, but he'd react to real trouble without her instructions. I bet his pointy ears he is, Gordo growled, and many of the others nodded in agreement. They would look good above my fireplace. I don't think they would, Gordo. She pulled her dagger into view. Darting forward, she pressed the tip into the throat of the man that had seized the stranger. This is none of your concern, the bartender glared. It is if you want Herrick here to live, C.A bit back. She sank the tip of her dagger further into the flesh of the man's throat. Herrick sucked in a sharp gulp of air. The scent of his foul breath roiled what little of the stew there was in her stomach. No wonder the half-elf looked a bit green. The apple of his throat bobbed, as if he'd swallowed several times. He probably needed to retch. He should aim for Herrick's filthy boots. Gordo wrenched her arm back, twisting her wrist. White-hot pain jolted up her arm. C.A winced, and her dagger clattered to the floor. A snarl erupted as Trickster leapt up in a lightning flash of white, landing on the man's arm. Gordo screamed and dropped to the floor of the tavern. His hand and forearm hung from an odd angle, even as he tried to cradle it against him. Blood spurted, spraying Trickster's white coat. C.A scowled and snatched her fallen weapon, assuming a more defensive stance. She gritted her teeth. She felt the weight of the half-elf's gaze, but she had to stop her bond before he killed Gordo. Trickster, no! Just hold him there, she commanded. The wolf obeyed, holding Gordo to the ground, teeth bared and lightly covering the man's throat. The rustic swallowed continually, his face as white as a sheet, and sweat dotting his wide forehead. Anyone else? She sheathed her weapon and drew her sword. Her grip tightened as it began to glow, a pale aura tangible as the weapon's magic spread across the tavern, searching. Her sword had been forged in magic, as the glow intensified, it drew on her own and surrounded C.A with a brightening radiance. The half-elf blinked several times, his handsome face contorted. He shifted his feet, tugging against Herrick's hold, as if that was all the resistance he could offer. Her stomach dipped. Could he feel the sword's magic? Did he possess any? Elves by nature were born with magic, and even though he appeared to be half human, he might have some. If he did, no matter the nature of it, he'd know the sword was magic, and that was the last thing she needed. She brandished her weapon at each of the men, but no one made a move. The brutes in the bar, Marshek included, stood shaking and wide-eyed, sweat pouring down their rough-hewn faces. Her sword didn't find much magic in the tavern, but it was succeeding in leaving a great fear in its wake of probing. Silence reigned until the half-elf stomped on Herrick's foot. The man scrambled to maintain his hold, but the half-elf spun and punched him in the jaw, jumping over him as he fell to the floor. He shook his hand as if his knuckles smarted and cursed, but it wasn't a word she understood. He lunged for C.A, grabbing her hand and tugging. She jolted, but didn't pull away as he made a dash for the door, dragging her along. Why was he helping her get away? No, don't question it. C.A shoved her still glowing sword beneath her cloak and called for her bondmate. Together they left the dark tavern. Leaping up, she landed in Ash's saddle, her thighs smarting. Her black stallion shifted to absorb her weight and let out a whinnying protest she'd apologize for later. The half-elf stared, standing next to a dappled horse tied to the public posts. He reached for his horse's reins, but he wasn't in a hurry. Are you coming? She frowned. It won't take them long to recover and come after us. Still, he made no move. Come on, you idiot. The dark man dismounted, his movements tense and jerky. The girl had been in Greenwald for over a fortnight, and his shades, mages in his service, hadn't sensed her until she'd been involved in a scuffle in a rundown tavern. He stomped his foot in the dirt, emitting a low growl. His stallion shifted and hoofed the dirt, but Varthan ignored him. How could the she-dog have still been in town? She'd been hiding in the open, and no one had seen her. Now he had to enter a disreputable establishment to receive a report from an overpaid, inadequate moron. The dragon's lair was dim, the air rank. He ignored the turn of his stomach, and the heavy odor of sweat and bodies hit his nose. There weren't many inside, as it was not quite midday, but they'd come, and the place would stink even more. He weaved his way to the table in the darkest corner. Lord Varthan, the imbecile, bowed. Varthan sneered and took a seat. What progress have you made? He snarled, waving the bar wench away. None, my lord. She is gone. He threw his leather riding gloves on the table. And why is that? All we know is she left in a hurry with an elf half-breed. My men pursued as soon as they realized it was her. Her beast ripped my man's arm off. Svender's words were hurried, and the apple of his throat jumped. Varthan drew a dagger. His companion's eyes widened, giving him some silent satisfaction. I don't care about that. I need the she-dog, and I need her now. Spender's shoulders shook as he sputtered a response. He drove the dagger into the man's jugular, shredding Spender's throat, backed up as the body collapsed on the table, head landing on top with a thud. Grabbing a dirty scrap of linen that posed as a napkin, Varthan wiped the blood off his jeweled dirk. I'm sick of excuses. Some of Spender's low-class, filthy blood marred his favorite riding gloves. He cursed and threw them onto the planked floor, kicking the pair away. Useless. Why was he in this position? He stared at Spender's body. He should feel something other than numbness, but he did not. The fault of the large blonde man's death did not lie with Varthan, despite the fact that his dagger had taken the man's life. King Nathal had betrayed him, and that Valor Ryan. If the Duke of Greenwald would have kept his mouth shut, Varthan would be in his own castle on his own lands. Well, Fowler couldn't speak against him now, could he? Oh, how he wished the man would have begged for his life. He hadn't even given Varthan the satisfaction. Too bad he died so quickly. And that sweet daughter of his. She'd been as lovely as her mother, both with tresses of red flame. He'd had them both naked beneath him before he'd ended their lives. The mother had begged for him to spare the daughter. In return, of course, she received the gift of watching her daughter perish before her eyes. It was really a shame he'd not kept her around. Could have taught her how to please a man, but it'd been good anyway. He liked when they fought, and she'd been a screamer. Memories danced into his head, causing a slow smile. Varthan met the bartender's beady eyes, but the older man looked away, busying himself at the scarred counter. There were no knights of Greenwald, no Provost and his marshals alive to report the murder, although he was in the slums, so killing in a tavern was often left for the barkeep to tidy up. At any rate, not my concern. He didn't linger. Oh, okay, shut up. That was a chapter and a half, basically.
All right. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off.
No, you're good.
I wasn't sure when a good time would be. So.
You do what you need to
do. You got dark there real quick.
Sorry, I forgot that scene was in the second scene of this chapter. That's my bad guy. He's not a nice person.
I mean, we were talking about Cameron getting a little dark, and then you just jumped right in there.
Yeah, he's not a nice guy at all. But to Cameron's point, in my romantic suspense books, I kill people all the time. Characters all the time. All the time.
There's something so cathartic about it. I had no idea.
So I don't know if you've been keeping track of the questions, Cameron. We had a ton of them from Karen and a couple others mixed in.
I have.
But I was going to say, if you want to figure out kind of where you want to start with that, I wanted to ask. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say I don't have the ability or the knowledge of how to pop the thing on the screen, but I can read it.
Yes, I think you'll have to read them because I forgot to have you sign in as an admin tonight. Because I forgot that Dawn and I have different access, so we can actually pop them up there on the screen. But I was going to ask real quick, how much world building did you have to do for this? And
tons.
And where did you get inspiration for that?
Well, I've always been a ginormous fantasy nerd. I grew up reading Anne McCaffrey. Tamara Pierce is one of my favorites. Asimov, tons and tons of fantasy. That's where. So that kind of stuff. Even Lord of the Rings. Although I never read it, I'd watched it. I don't know. It's just inherent. It's hard though. I mean, you got to remember the rules that you make. I do it as I go. Now for this particular book, I do actually have a map. I made up. My friend of mine drew me the map, and my cover artist colored it in so people can actually look at it and know where things are at because they do travel quite a bit. This is kind of like the classic quest story where you pick up your characters as you go and then save the world. But I think that world building, I think every genre world builds whether you recognize it or not. Mm-hmm. But for someone, when you make up a whole entire world, it's hard. But everything that happens is my rules. I had to make up all the magic rules. And I think that as I went in the books, because there's 3 books and a novella out, some of that stuff either solidified or changed or deepened. And I think that stuff is just subconscious. You just got to make sure that you don't break any of your own rules. Mm-hmm. I can tell you that when I sat down to write this book, the way I saw the world is not where I see it now. It grew with me, sort of, kind of. But it's really hard. It's hard. It's not easy. It's not as easy as because everybody knows what a cup is, what a mouse is, whatever. In the real world, you can sit down at a table and there's not going to be a floating magic candle. So stuff like that. I mean, what you hope, but or maybe you don't hope. But yeah, no, it's one of those. It's a hard thing to do, but for me, it's more inherent than planned because I don't plot or plan my books. I just sit down and write. I'm a pantser. So, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't know if that answers the question. I kind of went the wrong way,
Sure.
the wrong way around. But yeah, but I do believe that world building is really important so you can give your readers some picture for sure.
Yep. Very fun. All right. What have you got for us, Cameron?
Well, I'm going to actually start with the last question just because it kind of goes right with that. So do you have a book Bible for this series?
I do have a book Bible. Do I look at that? My friend of mine did that for me. I have never looked at it. That's terrible. I hope she's not watching. But I
would kill for somebody else to write my Bible for me.
Who does it as a service? If you want to get that information from me, after she does it as a service, she'll do it for you. It's one of those. I don't necessarily. This is going to sound really egotistical. Please don't take it that way. I don't find the need for it because I don't forget stuff. So I don't know why that is. Even after 20 books, ask me one of my characters' eye colors, heights, jaw. I mean, I can tell you. But I do one thing I do that I don't know if other authors do it or if I'm really a weirdo. Before I start the next book in the same series, I'll go back and either read it or these are in audio. So it was super easy when I sat down to write book 4. I just listened to them in audio and I'm like, oh yeah. But I mean, I did that so I wouldn't get any little details wrong. But for the overall big stuff, I don't feel like I need that. But I do have one. Should I look at it? Absolutely. My friend probably spent hours on it and she would whoop me if she knew that I haven't even looked at it. I do think they are a good thing to have for sure.
How about you, Jess? Have you started a series Bible?
Yeah, so I have like a big Excel sheet that I just work in, where I like list all the characters and their different characteristics, like any identifying information, any relationships they've had, or things I've thrown out there that I need to remember for later. I do a pretty good job, I think, of remembering. Like I just finished draft 1 of the second book. But like some random things, like I won't be able to remember. Like in book 2, they grow up as neighbors, but they're also neighbors with one of the main character in book 1. And I'm like, did I put them next to each other, across the street from each other? Like that, for the life of me, I finally just had to like have a sticky note next to my computer so that I could remember that correctly. But as far as like eye color and those types of things, I feel like you just create these characters in your mind. And I'm a bit of a pantser too. I really try to plot, and then my characters are just kind of like, yeah, we're not doing what you thought we were going to do. We're going to go do this instead. So book 2 really just kind of, they had their own ideas of how things were happening in that book, and I just went with it.
Funny how that happens.
Yeah.
I feel like that's why I just call myself a navigator. I'm just a navigator. Because that's how it too. Yeah. It's crazy when you have a plan for a scene and it just totally goes left field. So I gave up on trying to plot a long, long time ago because of that. I just give up.
Okay, so from Karen, let's go with our first question is, tell us what you enjoy most about writing. Do you want to start with Jess or Christy?
Sure.
Who wants to start?
Either way.
I can start. It's definitely like I struggle with a lot of anxiety. And so it's been like a really just therapeutic way for me to kind of get through that sometimes. I have really small kids, and so at night, like after they go to bed, I just kind of get that time to sit there and like put the story down on paper and kind of get lost in that world, which has been really, really enjoyable. And just a little, I mean, I would go as far to say life-changing. I feel like it's really helped with my anxiety since I started writing.
Well, writing gives me anxiety. So
I mean, don't get me wrong. I have anxiety about some things with it too, but the
It's a
actual
different kind.
the actual sitting there and writing part does not give me anxiety. The sharing it with people gives me anxiety.
yeah, I feel that. But I think that my favorite thing about writing is the sense of accomplishment when I finish a book.
Mm-hmm.
Because every time you type the end, and I do actually have the end in my books. So I know some authors don't, but I literally type that at the end of the book. I feel like that because as soon as that's over, it's a process for me. So I'll finish a book and then I'll grieve the characters for like a week, maybe 2 weeks. Depends on how attached I am to them. And because you have different levels of attachment to different characters, just like we do people in real life, right? So then I'll want to go ahead and do it again. I'll start something. But I'm also a weirdo. I probably like literally have 12 books that are in some process on my computer because I never want to write the book I'm supposed to be writing. And all these other people are over here. Instead of the 2 people front and center that I'm supposed to be writing about, others will pop up in the corner and I'm like, you need to go sit down. And they're like, no, I'm not sitting down. You're going to write this. So sometimes I'll go back and forth on books too. If I'm really not feeling one, I'll go on the other. But I do so as soon as I finish a project, I usually pick something up. It's not usually starting from the beginning. But I don't know. I just like writing for me is like breathing. I can't imagine it not in my life. And I always have written. And I've always said that if I never published again, I wouldn't stop writing. Just because these people are alive up here.
Mm-hmm.
My husband goes, there's meds for that. I'm like, well, you just don't get it. But I agree with what Jess said. She was like, you make these people. Like, I'll have whole conversations with characters, or you would know what a particular character would react. It is what it is. And these guys, Sierra and Joran, they were my firstborn. So they will always have a place in my heart, no matter how many books come out after them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep.
Yeah.
Do you want another question, or do you want to have Jess go ahead and start reading? That way,
let's do 1 or 2 more, and then we'll hear from Jess.
Okay, so I saw a good one that just popped up. Let's see. Who would you choose for your main characters to play in a movie? This is from Jennifer Daniels.
I found it. There we go.
There you go.
So, like, which actor and actress should play
them? Yeah, which actor and actress, yeah. So, I don't have anybody picked out for this book, but Alex O'Loughlin, I have a character named Cole Lucas, is the first of in my romantic suspense series. The first book in Alex O'Loughlin is Cole Lucas, so unfortunately he's getting too old to play him if the TV people ever come knocking, because he's only like 32. But like, he's like straight in my head. Like, I mean, that's who basically Steve McGarrett is Cole Lucas. So like, but I mean, that's the only one that I really have like picked out for any of my books. I don't have any other names that come to mind. Okay, Jess.
Yeah. So actually, I was on another podcast and we talked about this. So I have a prepared answer. So I think in book 1, the main female character is Poppy Collins, and I think, and actually, I just am realizing this. Is it Lily Collins? Is that the Emily in Paris girl? Am I saying her name correctly? Yeah. They have the same last name, and I just am putting that together. But I do think that she would be a good Poppy. And then for Logan, oh gosh, it's going to completely escape me. He was just in Twister. What's his name?
The guy from Maverick. What's his name?
Glenn
Powell. Oh my God.
Powell. Yes.
I can't believe I couldn't remember his name.
No,
yeah.
He's so yummy.
Well, and for maybe only that reason, he should play Logan, just because I find him.
I like him a lot too. And the first thing I ever saw him in,
fun to look at.
He doesn't do it for me, but then I don't know, something about it depends on the role.
Switched. Something he put on a cowboy hat. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
I feel that. Yes.
But yeah, so he should play Logan. If any really, big TV people or movie people are
They
listening.
should come knocking is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Mhm.
My door's open.
Yes, samesies.
All right. Well, let's hear from your book, and we'll
Okay.
see if our viewers and listeners agree with you on who they're picturing as your characters. Are
Okay.
you setting anything up for us? Are you reading from chapter 1 or?
I'm not going to read from chapter 1. So I'm reading from When You Left Me Speechless. Can y'all see that? So the main female character I had mentioned before, she's a speech therapy graduate student. And so prior to this scene, she's had a little bit of a crisis where her graduate school externship was canceled last minute, and it's what she needs to graduate. And so, with the help of her best friend and her sister, she ends up finding a placement at an elementary school, which is not what she wanted. She wanted like a more medical setting,
Mhm.
like a hospital. And while she was trying to navigate the crisis, her best friend convinced her to go out. They went home with guys. She slept over with our main male character, Logan, and then woke up the next morning and couldn't remember what happened. So she left. So going into this scene, she is excited to start her new externship, but like also in the back of her mind, there's this guy that she's still not sure if she slept with or not. She has no way to get in touch with him, but she's been thinking about him.
Okay. All right. Well, we will leave you to it, and we will be back when you're done.
Sounds good. All right. So this is chapter 6, The World's Smallest Office, from Poppy's perspective. Kids scurry through the hallways, laughing and screaming. I'm sitting in a chair meant for a kindergartner in a small office with cinder block walls, sipping my extra large coffee, waiting for my new supervisor to walk in. The desk looks oversized for the space, but I can't figure out if it's the world's biggest desk or the world's smallest office. It's probably the latter. There's a bookshelf scattered with board games and therapy materials I would kill to organize. The small bulletin board is decorated with cute speech bubbles and looks like something she probably found on Pinterest. The rumors about school speech therapists working in closets seem to be true. You must be Poppy, the woman standing at the door says with a warm smile. I'm Beth. I'm so happy you're here. She looks to be in her early 30s. She has dark curly hair and chestnut skin. Pink square frame eyeglasses surround her chocolate eyes. She's wearing a t-shirt with the words "Just Speechy" written in large rainbow script across her chest and a matching headband striped with the same colors. The lanyard around her neck resembles a friendship bracelet with different multicolored beads. She wears hot pink high tops that match her glasses. It's so nice to meet you. I stand and shake her hand. Thank you for taking me on so last minute. You're a real lifesaver. She laughs. Of course, something similar happened to me in graduate school. I get how stressful it can be, so when Olive reached out, I was happy to help. I reach into my bag and grab out the paperwork I need her to sign for school. She signs it quickly and shows me to a small filing cabinet where I can keep my purse. Okay, so now that you're official, we have an IEP meeting this morning at 8:30 for one of our fifth graders, Freddie Anderson. Do you know what an IEP is? I nod, but she explains anyway. Right. So IEPs, or individualized education plans, are like the roadmaps for students in special education. It helps all the teachers know what the students need and how to support them so they have their best shot at success. I give her another nod. Anyway, she continues, Freddie's parents are great, but sometimes their meetings last longer than usual. You're welcome to join and observe. You'll be working with Freddie, so meeting his parents and hearing about his IEP will be good. She walks over to her desk and picks up a stack of papers. Here's the current IEP, and here are my updated goals. Why don't you look over them and let me know if you have any questions? I take the stack of papers from her hands and begin flipping through them while Beth catches up on emails at her desk. It's a long document. Freddie Anderson is a fifth grader and has struggled his whole school career, constantly behind, and because of that, constantly in trouble. He seems to get speech therapy because he struggles to learn vocabulary. At 8:15, I walk down the hallway toward the school's front office with Beth. On the way, she points out the bathrooms, the staff break room, and gives me an abbreviated tour of the building. Pecan Grove is a large school and has kindergartners through fifth graders. Each grade has its own hallway, and from what I can tell, the school makes a large squared off figure eight with the front office in the center. The speech room shares a hallway with the fifth grade students. Good morning, everyone. This is my new student, Poppy Collins, Beth says to the mix of employees sitting around the long table. Random school accolades and posters hang on the walls. I offer a small wave and sit beside Beth in one of the few remaining chairs. Welcome, a couple of the women say, both offering me warm smiles. Looks like we're just waiting on Freddie's reading teacher, Mr. Peterson, someone says. He should be here soon, and then we will go grab the Andersons and get started. The room breaks out into multiple whispered side conversations. Beth begins to tell me about some of the strategies she has used in the past with Freddie. I pick up a pen and try to take notes. I hear the door click open and my gaze leaves Beth. I am now looking at the man walking through the door. He's handsome, tall, brunette with a slight curl to his hair. His skin is tan like he enjoys being outside. His eyes are dark brown and framed with glasses. To my surprise, I know exactly who he is. My body stiffens. I immediately start to sweat. My pen falls from my hand and it hits the table with a loud thud. Are you okay? I hear Beth ask. I nod because I can't speak. My mouth feels dry and my tongue feels thick. Mr. Peterson, thanks so much for joining us, says the woman who I've learned is the assistant principal. He nods. His grin takes up his whole face. I remember him being good looking, but I definitely don't remember him being this good looking. I also don't remember him wearing glasses, but dang, I like them. My stomach fills with butterflies. It would be my luck that the hot guy from the bar, who I still can't remember if I slept with or not, is a teacher at this school. I feel his eyes on me and I catch his gaze. His eyebrow ever so slightly hitches above his glasses like he's questioning what I'm doing there. He winks and starts to walk around the table, heading straight for me. I straighten in my chair. My brain fumbles through idea after idea of what I might say to him when he reaches me. He keeps his eyes locked on me as he rounds the table. This all seems to be happening in very slow motion. I try to breathe, but the room suddenly feels like it is completely void of oxygen. The door to the conference room clicks open again, forcing air back into my lungs and speeding up time. Freddie's parents walk in and sit at the table with the rest of the team. Mr. Anderson is a short man with a bald head and mustache. Mrs. Anderson is a tall woman with her black hair cut into a short bob. They're both dressed casually and offer the room warm smiles. We go through the IEP line by line, pausing every couple of lines to hear what the parents like or do not like about the proposed item. I should be listening, but I'm not. Instead, I'm lost in my thoughts and completely panicking about the fact that this man, whom I thought I would never see again, is sitting 2 seats down from me, and he winked at me. Mr. Peterson, I was thinking the speech therapist could work with you to help Freddie in your class for the remainder of the year. He's really struggling with vocabulary, and it would be great if he could have extra support right before testing, Mr. Anderson suggests. Of course, Beth says with a big, agreeable smile plastered across her face. She looks at me. Do you think we could make that work while you're here? Her words bring me back to reality. I nod, trying to stay calm, hoping no one notices I'm barely paying attention. And then it hits me what I've agreed to. I'm going to have to work closely with this guy. And with that, I hear him agree as well. Is that good? Do y'all want me to keep going? Or is that okay?
I love it. I love awkward next days or whatever, how long it takes. I love them. So I'm invested.
That was really good. I love it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, we lost Chrissy there for a minute.
I was logging
Technology has not been kind to us tonight.
I was actually trying to log in StreamYard and it like took over the screen. It was like, we will do this.
No, that was a lot of fun. And I think your ideas for, who would play your characters, at least as of right now, sounds spot on to me. So.
Yeah.
I think it's
there
awesome.
We have it.
It's proximity. I love proximity romances.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. And of course, as you're waiting and thinking like, she's got to run into him. He's got to be there. He's got to, yeah. So, and he's a teacher. I mean,
he's a teacher. Yeah. Yeah, so then there's a little forbidden workplace, I mean,
Mhm.
in it too, so which was really fun to write.
I have tons of those. It's all good. It's fine. It's fine. It's not real world.
Those are
No, I love a forbidden workplace. I'm sure the fictional HR department hates
right.
them, but I like them. I like to read them.
So how long did it take you to write your first book?
So I think I came home in August of last year. I had like a terrible day at work, feeling pretty burnt out. And I got home and I'd had the idea on the way home. Like I had the title, I had the plot in my head. I was like, I want to do this. And my husband was just like, oh, okay, like, sure, do it. And so I started in August and I had a very terrible draft one done by Christmas. And then I worked like after that, just like fine tuning everything and making sure it made sense and was how I wanted it. Relied a lot on like friends and alpha readers and beta readers to help me, my editor, and then published it in June. So
Nice.
Cool. That's awesome.
That's pretty fast.
Yeah, it was just like one of those things. It popped into my head and I knew exactly like where I wanted it to go. And the kids would go to bed and I would just sit there for hours and get it down on paper until it was done.
That sounds like me. My first book, I started writing literally same thing. Like after my kids would go to bed and I would sit there and like write a chapter and but mine took like 18 months to get through a very messy first draft. So yeah, you were much quicker.
I had to get I don't think I knew like where I was going to go with it once it was done. Like I had no expectations of like actually turning it into anything. Like I was just like, we're going to put this on paper and then see what happens. And then I made friends with some other girls that were also writing their first books and we just kind of figured it out together and,
That's the best.
Yep.
We did it.
Awesome.
So
how long did it take both of you, Chrissy and Cameron, to write your first book? Do you remember?
I worked on Swords Call for no joke 11 years.
Oh my gosh.
No, I didn't do it. I wasn't writing consistently, right? It just was like whenever. And then I got serious about it in like 2011, I think. And then I was like, okay, I don't know how to do this. How do you publish? What is this? How's this work? Well, I don't know. And so here's the kicker. If I would have not been so shy, I could like be rich because I didn't publish it in 2011 when everybody else did. Everybody else all the people that are 6-figure authors because they published in 2011, that's not this girl. So I didn't get it out until 2013, but definitely with help. Like I found a writing group, more than just the Google search, how do you publish a book?
Right.
So yeah, no, when I got serious about it and when I really started sitting down to revise it and everything, I want to say probably about a year, maybe a little more than a year, maybe 18 months before. But yeah, because when you just don't know nothing. You don't know anything.
Right.
So,
and you don't know what you don't know.
Right. Exactly.
I don't know.
And now at least it's easier now. Anybody who doesn't want to have to deal with traditional or trying to get an agent, it's at least easier nowadays. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Jess.
Oh no. I mean, I self-published this one, so
me too.
Yeah, and it was just I didn't know what I didn't know. And my dog just came in here. I didn't even know he was not downstairs.
It's a dog night.
Yeah,
it is. I think all of us have a dog in our general proximity right now, don't we?
Yes.
Yeah. He's my stage 5 clinger. But yeah, you just don't know what you don't know. And like I feel like the whole process of getting this book published, it was like, wait, what? I have to do what? Like I think I had it figured out, and then like something else would pop up that and then I found people and we supported one another, and it was like every day it was something new. We were texting each other like, did you know this is what we had to do?
And the best thing about the romance community is we are so inclusive. I don't know any romance authors that are like, no, I won't help you. Go away.
Yeah,
You know,
I haven't come across one, so
yeah,
everyone's so nice.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think that I mean, of course, there's 800 million gazillion books out there, and books, no matter when, you can read them, right? And I think that we don't see each other as competition. We celebrate each other's, every time a book comes out, I want to know more about your world. What about my world? That kind of stuff. So that's one thing I love about romance authors. Everybody is so super inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
Well, and no matter, I mean, we just talked about it. It took you 11 years to write your first book. It took me 18 months. I mean, a reader's going to devour that in, like less than a day. So
where's the next one?
no matter how fast you write, they're always going to read faster than you can write. So
absolutely. And that you'll even run into people, I'm sure you guys have too, that won't even start a series until it's done. Because they want all of them at once. And I'm like, I can't write that fast. This girl still has to work full time. So, it is what it is. So
how long did it take you, Kameron, to write your first book?
The first one that got published?
Well, no, just the first one that you wrote, like that you finished, your first manuscript that you ever finished. How long did it take?
Less than a year.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing though, man. That thing ended up becoming 4 books because everybody got their own thing. I didn't know what POV was. I didn't know what head hopping was. So that thing turned into 4 books, but I had to get it finished because I actually got a solicitation from Entangled at the time. So I had to redo it. So that's the only reason why there was under a year mark, but I never ended up that one's still in the box. That's my baby. That's the one, like you were saying, Chrissy, with those are your babies. Like those are my babies, and I refuse to put them out until I am an amazing storyteller. I have to completely own my craft before I'll put those ones in the world because they need to be reworked badly.
Some people never publish the first thing that they ever wrote. I didn't get that gene. True. I was like, I wrote this. It's going to get out there in the world. So that's how I didn't get that gene either. Yeah. So I was like, no, it's going to get out. But I feel like, Kameron, to play off something you just said, it's like the status that book is in is the best you were at that time. So if you sat down to write that book today, it might be a completely different book, and it's so hard to go back and quote fix things. I think you get to the point where you just walk away from it.
Oh no! It'll be completely rewritten because I don't even write in third person anymore. I hate all my third person stuff, so all of it has to be rewritten anyways.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, you'll get to it when the time is right, right?
That's right.
It's next year. It's on the plan.
Oh, good. You plan things.
The time is right next year.
That's hilarious. I don't plan anything.
I plan the series releases, and that's it. That's as far. I'm a 98% pantser as well, like you guys. So I know the basics of what has to happen, but otherwise, so yeah, no. But I have to know what I'm working on, or else I won't work on anything.
Girl, I don't know anything. When I start a book, let me tell you what I know when I start a book. I know what both of the characters' names are and generally what their jobs are. And then if they came from if they were secondary characters in a previous book, I might know a little bit more about them. But I hardly know anything at all. I know they're going to end up together at the end of the book. That is good. That is it.
If you're writing romance, that is kind of important.
Yeah, it's the only requirement.
The only requirement.
That's pretty much all I know, though. If it doesn't form organically for me, I don't want to write it. That's what I've learned about myself over the years. I could even have an idea of where a scene is going and sit down, and it won't go that way. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And I've learned to listen to them because most of the time they're right.
Yeah. I think that's what's tough is learning when to listen to yourself and when to, when you've gone off the rails and when you need to course correct.
But that's the problem with pantsing, isn't it? You write yourself into a corner sometimes, and then you got to fix it. And that I hate. But I still can't plan and plot. I can't. I tried, and it just doesn't. It's not me.
I'm really trying to because it's like a 5-book series, like interconnected standalone series, and so you hear all of like the female main character names in book 1, but you really get to meet them more in book 2, like the books 3, 4, and 5. And so I've been with book 2, I've just been like really careful with like what I put in there about them, because I'm like, oh my, like 3 books from now, I'm gonna have to remember that I said that this person liked this or did this or, you know, whatever. But to your point, Chrissy, about like how you'll have like an idea for a scene and then it'll go a completely different way. I had a scene in my head for book 2. It was the only scene that I was like, it's definitely in book 2. These are the words, like this is the, like it was a line that the female main character was going to say. And then it's not the same. Like it's completely, the line is in there, but like not anywhere, like it's not even close to what I had originally like thought.
Yeah, I remember being stuck in a book, and then all of a sudden the hero knocked on the door of her apartment, and I was like, "What are you doing there?" Because it totally wasn't from. It wasn't a plan at all. And in my head, I heard this little whisper, "Just go with it," and it ended up being like great. But it wasn't where I was going at all, because the heroine of the book was really dreading this phone call that she had to make, and she didn't want to make it. And I was dreading writing it because she was dreading making this phone call. And then all of a sudden, and I'm like, what? How dare you? I just made the dog bark. I just like, where did you come from? And he was like, you need to go with it. And I was like, okay. And I just went with it. And it turned out to be one of my favorite scenes in the book. You know, it's cute and quirky and funny. But yeah, so that happens to me all the time. I just need to listen to them and it'll be fine.
So speaking of working on book 2, Jess, what's your timeline on that? Everybody's very excited about 5 books in your series. So when is the next book?
Yeah. So my beta readers are finishing up book 2 this weekend. And so I'm like excited to get it back and get all their, I mean, I've been stalking their comments the whole time. I have no chill. Like I was like, I'm going to put it down and not look at it. And then I was like, oh, they're commenting. Let me get in there. But so I get it back. I get it back from them, at the beginning of next week. And then, I haven't announced like an official release date yet, but my hope is like early next year. That's what I keep teasing, is early next year. So, and I'm really book 2. I like y'all were saying, book 1's your babies. Like I adore Poppy and Logan, but Lacey and Jace, my book 2 characters, are just they're
don't tell the others.
Don't tell the other. I love them so much. Lacey's just like, she's just, people loved her in book 1, and she's just really fun to write. Like she just kind of says what she thinks, and is, you know, a little wild, and just, she's really fun.
And different characters will hit you that way. You'll feel different connections for different reasons as you go on this journey and as you keep writing books, because I have characters that I still think of from books 10 years ago, you know. And then I have other ones where I'm like, oh God, that was hard. I don't ever want to see that guy again. You know, it's just, it is what it is. Yeah. You know?
Well, we are overtime. Because I feel bad. We didn't get to hardly any of the questions tonight. Is that Milo talking to us now?
Sorry,
he's sad to see the night come to an end, I think.
Milo's like, it's time to go outside. Let's go. Let's go.
It's Journeys bark a lot. We call it butterfly farts because he barks at everything.
Well, we are super excited that you joined us tonight. It was great hearing from both of your works. And why don't you just real quick before we wrap up, we do have a giveaway posted on the Romance Happy Hour Facebook page. You're both giving away copies of paperbacks, signed paperbacks. So go check that out on the Romance Happy Hour Facebook page. And as we wrap up, Jess, do you want to tell people where the best place is to find you?
Yeah, sure. So My website is authorjesschristine.com. And I have like signed paperbacks there, some book merch from book one. And then all of my socials are at author Jess Christine. So I'm most active on Instagram. I pretend like I know what I'm doing on TikTok, but I'm kind of there too. And then you can also get When You Left Me Speechless on Amazon and read it for free on Kindle Unlimited.
Great. And how about you, Chrissy?
Okay, so I'm doing a Kickstarter right now for the illustrated version, and it comes with a whole bunch of rewards that you can't get anywhere else. So please check out that link. I'm hoping we'll go like this to fund that. We're going to be able to fund it. And then, of course, all my socials are at C.A. Szarek, and my website as well, cazarek.com. I do sell my books on there as well, so paperbacks and ebooks. And I am most active on Facebook. But I am other places as well. So,
all right, great. And Cameron, thank you very much for being here. We couldn't have done it without you. Always good to see you, and I get to see you in person next month. So
I know.
Very excited.
It's only like it's not even 3 weeks away, I don't think.
Oh my gosh. Like I feel like fall. I feel like it's already, time is going by way too quickly.
Yeah,
I mean,
3 weeks.
Not that I'm not eager to see you, but I have so many things I need to get done before then.
I know. You have a very busy end of the year, so yes, you have a lot to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
And pretty soon, guys, it's going to be Christmas. I can't believe it. The year did go like this, didn't it? I mean,
yes,
really.
I know. Don't rush us.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm not ready. I saw a Christmas sign and I made a face. And I love Christmas. I'm just like, can't. And my birthday's October 12th, so it's soon.
Coming up fast.
Yay. Yay for me.
Well, thanks for being with us tonight. You can always find us at Romance Happy Hour. Our Facebook page is where we do our live, or on the YouTube channel on the 2nd and 4th Thursday of every month. So we will see you again in October. And in the meantime, make sure you check out the Facebook page and get into that drawing, because we'll leave that up through the weekend. So thanks, Jess. Thanks, Chrissy.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me too. It was a lot of fun, guys.
Fun. Yeah, so fun.
I told you it would go fast, didn't I?
It did go fast. No lie.
All right. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.